Mrs. Lee, you arrived in South Korea, first you, after your family, after a long journey. Can you, in short, tell us this long story?
Yeah, I'm a North Korean escapee, and I escaped the country during the famine when people died, more than 1 million people because of the starvation. So at that time, I believed my country was the best, and my dear leader, Kim Il-sung, the first one and the second dictator, was God, who didn't even go to the bathroom. Truly, not only me, but almost every North Korean citizens, we were believed. But because of the big famine, people were starved, and then they were dying on the street. And I was living on the border at that time with China, and China was the only country I could compare with my own. And we learned from school that North Korea was much superior to China, but I don't see that North Korea was doing much better than China because I was living on the border. So at that time I was confused whether my country was the best in the world or China was the best in the world. So because of the bigger curiosity and attraction about the outside world, I just crossed the border secretly to see China with my own eyes. But I didn't mean that I totally escaped my country at the time because all my relatives and my family were left in North Korea. I could have never imagined I could even separate with them.
You encountered many difficulties before arriving South Korea.
Yeah.
And after, again, for your family, can you tell us what happened?
You know, I think as I wrote in my book, my memoir, in my life, always there's certain vocabularies are linked together, like escaping, always escaping, and then what if, because of the regret. Always I was thinking, what if there's a time machine, what if I go back at the time, what happened, something like that. So in North Korea, as a North Korean, we grew up with constant public executions. It's happening even today. People were killed in the shootings, just the massive shootings, and their blood, just the head was just exploded. It's a normal, very ordinary scene to watch in North Korea. And then we have we have a political prison camp where so many people were just the labor forced, just torture or death or starvation. Everything is happening even today. But even when I was seeing that, I thought my country was the best because the regime told us that outside world are disaster, people are dying there and people are suffering. So I thought, even when we were suffering, I thought that was the best life in life. But when I escaped to China, I suffered a different kind of problem. It's different. When I watch the public execution, it's not for me, but for scary, for propaganda. But when I arrived in China, this is a problem even today. The Chinese government, even the Xi Jinping government right now, they are not consider us as the political escapees. They consider us as economy migrants, illegal economy migrants. So they are keep sending back North Korean defectors back to North Korea, where they are doing the favor of all big dictator, all crazy dictator. And the Chinese government, they know that the defectors, after repatriated in North Korea, there will be torture and imprisonment is a standard, and sometimes they will be put in the public executions. It's happening even today, but the Chinese government keep doing it. And especially today, the China, Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un had a summit not long ago, right? And then because of that, the relationship between North Korea and China is so close right now. So they keep more sending North Korean defectors back to North Korea. It's happening right now at the moment. How ridiculous this is. So like me, when I arrived in China, I was always hunted by the Chinese government. But before that, not only that, I escaped an arranged marriage when I was 19. I arrived in China when I was 18, and when I was 19, I escaped an arranged marriage. And also, the day I escaped, I don't know where to go or where to sleep. So I found my very first job, and I thought that was a decent job. But soon I realized it was a brothel with many prostitutes. It was in Shenyang. I bet you know it's Shenyang, right? And then, yeah, it was a miracle later because I escaped in 24 hours because I outsmarted the brothel owner who took me to the previous days there. So this kind of miracle not easily happen to many North Korean female defectors, because even at this moment that North Korean females are sold as sex slaves or as a trafficked bride to a Chinese man, where the gender imbalance has driven up the demand. It's happened even at this moment. So I escaped the brothel at the time. It was when I was 19 again. And then when I was struggling to survive in China, one day the Shenyang police station, they captured me and they will put me in a huge interrogation. I was narrowly, actually, I was almost repatriated to North Korea at the time, but I was lucky to deceiving them that as I'm a Chinese citizen, because my Chinese language ability was too good at the time, so they couldn't even believe that I was an actual North Korean kid. So that was truly the miracle happened in my life. I think probably that was first miracle happened in my life. And after that, yeah, that again, I mean, in my book, there's another story. When I was trying to see my family near the border area, I was kidnapped by the gangsters. So that's another horrific moment in my life. So always in my life, escaping, and what if? So I was thinking, what if I didn't cross the border into China? Then I don't think I'm gonna meet so many problems in my life.
You escaped because of the famine, mainly, no? But nowadays, why there are still North Korean refugees? Which is the motivation?
Sorry?
Which is the motivation now for you escaped because there was a famine in the 90s. Now, North Korean refugees that escape from North Korea, which is the main reason that bring them out?
In the past, when I was escaping the country, the main reason was starvation. But right now, I mean, the defection rate is hugely decreased after the third dictator, current dictator, because he just cracked that border very severely, because he got the ideas that the border is threatening his power, because all the information from the outside fled into North Korea, like South Korean dramas, K-pop songs, Hollywood movies. It's helping North Korean people awakening from the brainwash. And then also all the information about North Korea is fled to out of North Korea to China, and then people are escaping like me. That's why he realized crack down the border is the main reason. That's why a few days ago, I think maybe 10 days ago, they even shooted the North Korean woman, daughter and mother. They were two of them were escaping the border during daytime, and then they just shoot the mother off. So the mother was died. So this kind of things happens over time, and that's why people were super scared to escape. But right now, the people who are escaping is different reasons. Unlike in the past, of course, some of them are escaping because of the starvation, but more people are escaping because of the informations about the outside, about South Korea. So they don't actually know what's freedom yet, but I think sure of it's a freedom. Because of freedom, they are escaping these days. In the past, more poor people escaped the country, but right now, like the ranges are different. Middle class or upper class people are even escaping.
You told before that when you escaped, actually you believed that your country, North Korea, was the best in the world. So eventually the brainwash was really strong. Do you believe that still now the regime may manage to, through the propaganda, to pass these messages to the population?
Yes, because North Korea's propaganda, that's it featured in the textbook from kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school to, it's never going to, change. And then, so the propaganda is the same. It stays exactly the same, but people these days, because of the outside information that they watch the secret at home, that is hugely changing, and that is bringing the North Korean regime down in the end. That's what I believe right now. So even though the propaganda and the people what they learned from school is all fake, but they should have realized maybe in South Korea, the divided country, South Korea is not the most poorest country in the world, and Americans are actually not executing South Korean people on the street during daytime. They know about this fact, and then they know that South Korea and America is a very rich country in the world. That's why the propaganda is not work very well, but also depends on who you are. Like countryside people, it works really well for them. But like people from city or who has money or who has relatives like us in the South Korea, then it's not really working well.
Do you believe that there is a women problem inside the North Korea human rights problems? I mean, women, do you think in North Korea are suffering even more than men? If yes, for which reason?
Yeah, this kind of question I received a lot over time, and I'm saying, in North Korea, men always superior to women. But in North Korea, we don't even have a man's rights. So where is women's rights? There's nothing exists. If we don't have a human rights words in North Korea, we never learned human rights words. And then I only learned that when I came here 9 years ago on the news. The anchors, TV presenters, always talking about North Korean human rights issues. So I was thinking, I came from North Korea, but I don't know what's North Korean human rights, what they're talking about. And I was Googling at the time, and I find out, wow, that was human rights. I was deprived every rights as a human being for entire my life in North Korea. That's the thing I realized. So in North Korea, man was superior to women. So women always, they do all the hard work in the society. But what's more severe for women is, especially those who escape the country to China or South Korea, and then when they, were repatriated to China and then back to North Korea, those women in the prison, they are suffering really horribly. Like, they are not treated as a normal human being, especially those this thing, actually, the President Trump, he mentioned in his speech in South Korea last November at the National Assembly speech, he mentioned that part. I was really surprised, actually, that he know even about that fact. So, like, a woman who was pregnant in China and then after repatriated to North Korea, because of the pregnant woman, they are treated more badly than other North Korean defectors, because the regime says, whose baby is that? Is that Chinese, dirty Chinese baby, or enemy South Korean's baby? It depends on the father is Chinese or South Korean. If the baby is South Korean, then the woman even will be killed together with the baby. But the baby from Chinese man, then they just brutally torturing the woman until the baby dies in the belly. For example, tied their hand up, and then with the huge stick, they are just beat the woman's belly until the blood is just coming out.
This kind of information you managed to get through which sources? Because very little come up from North Korea now.
Because so many defectors who were escaped, who were repatriated to North Korea, and then who lived in the prison. Because every North Korean defectors, they had to experience the prison period. That's the mandatory course. So in the prison, they saw many of this kind of stories. Who didn't pregnant woman, who wasn't pregnant, they saw that, and then after they escape North Korea to China. In the end, they came here. So many people, they all have different experiences of what they saw. That's how they was shared, and that's how it was shared in the world.
So with this feeling that you have toward your country, how do you look at the summit? No matter what will happen or it happened, do you trust any commitment from the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, or you have a mistrust about his words?
You know, right now seems like, especially in South Korea, South Korean politicians, whatever, they're super excited about tomorrow's summit. Seems like they have a huge delusion right now about that. But the White House has a little bit less than South Korea, because the White House, America, has many experience over time with North Korea. The regime tricked them many times. That's why they don't really believe, but somehow they want to believe. So in my perspective, every North Korean defector live here, we don't believe the regime actually gonna do the denuclearization, because denuclearization is a dying instruction of ancestor that cannot change in North Korea, and that's the only one thing he can, not only from outside, but the nuclear power is he's keeping his power from North Korea, even in North Korea. That's why he made that. So I don't believe the denuclearization at all. So to me, this is a huge political, Kim Jong-un's political show happening right now at this moment. But I hope it's not show, but this is what I believe, my intuition, everything tells me it's a fake. The reason he's doing it is to remove the strongest sanctions appeal on North Korea from America, which this is really hurting him right now. That's why, but it doesn't mean that it's hurting the regime collapses, these sanctions. So to escape from the sanctions, the first goal is from that. The second is, by delaying this, he's earning time, and then he's waiting until the Trump government administration is finishes, because in 4 years. So he was thinking maybe he can play the game within 4 years, because the system, the North Korea is one dictator ruling whole entire period, right? But in democratic countries, each 5 years, or they have terms. So the regime knows about this. That's why they are right now waiting the terms. That's what I believe, because denuclearization and then economic reform, if it's possible, he already did that a long time ago. I mean, China, convinced them many years ago to do this, but they never did that. So why suddenly they will do everything? Oh, this is ridiculous, because Trump is scaring them. They were super scared. Maybe Trump is really gonna bomb North Korea. That's why this time they're playing a game. But my last message is, but nevertheless, I really hope, this is my biggest hope, I want to meet the unification, at least if not unification, really better relationship between South Korea and North Korea, so that we can give sort of freedom to North Korean people. That's why, even though I'm not really believing everything, it's very not optimistic, but I'm just praying to God to hope or President Moon Jae-in tomorrow could do much better in this negotiation, so that I don't know, I hope I'm wrong, seriously, then I can go back to my hometown maybe very soon. That's my biggest wish right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.